Brother Kadash giving our praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahawashi Bahashem, Rakakadash. The importance of Yahawashi, right? I'm going to pull one scripture for this, but just a little backstory, of some things that's been going on. I caught myself kind of acting a little aggressive in situations. And the thing is that America, the culture in America and Mystery Babylon makes you aggressive because it puts you in a survival standpoint. Pretty much like when you're out in the world, you're out in the public, it's like when things happen and even your people do things to you, I just speak for myself. I caught myself kind of overreacting because the world puts you in that position because you never know. It's like you don't want somebody to harm you or do something to you, so you may actually harm them first. So they won't be able to harm you. And that's kind of how the world, like when you hearing about all these, they call them YNs today, doing all these crazy things. It's like when you get in public and let's just say you got protection on you, you quick to be like, nah, it's no nonsense. If a person do this, I'm going to blast off because it's really like a survival tactic. You kind of adapt to your surroundings and the culture that's been going on. But I had to check myself, right? And this is why Yahawashi is important. Because anytime I'm going astray, I kind of just do my best to remember what will Yahawashi do? How was Yahawashi? What type of person was he? How did he act? And I said, look, even though the culture is the way it is right now, and it gets people in a certain type of mindset, you have to walk in the ways that Yahawashi walked in. So I had to check myself and say, look, man, I need to be a nicer person. I need to not be so overreactive. I need to not just be so quick to crash out or have over temper, because that's not the way that Yahawashi walked. Now, also, what I'm looking at, what brothers do, before I open my mouth against a brother, I consider, the Bible, I consider Yahawashi. This is why Yahawashi is important. What will Yahawashi do? How will Yahawashi see this rather than how would I see it? And this is where a lot of brothers go wrong. And if a lot of more brothers did this, right, we'll have a better nation. This is why I believe in Yahawashi. This is why Yahawashi is still important. Because Yahawashi showed us, just going off the Bible, even though we know there's things that's been changed up about the New Testament and stuff like that, but there's truth is still found in the New Testament. And it's the same thing with the Old Testament too. So it's like, what I seen about Yahawashi is the way that he moved. And you could learn from that, and that could benefit you. So no, I'm not going to throw away the whole New Testament, right? Because the things that are correct, that's why you got to know how to eat and spit out the bones. You got to have something called discernment. The things that are good to learn and good to know, of course, I'm going to adhere to those things. And Yahawashi was a good example of how to be and how to act and how to interact with other brothers and how to treat people. For sure, he was a good example of that. Whether you believe in some of the stories that other people made about him, right? Because we don't have a book directly written from him. Whether you believe they exaggerated, made up some stuff, cool. But as far as his testimony, as far as the testimonies about him, as what type of person he was, that's a great example of a type of man to be, so I had to check myself about that. And then also, like when I got on YouTube, which I'm guilty of this too in the past, every time I get on YouTube, I see a whole bunch of Israelite videos on my wall, and I had to check myself about that too, because I'm seeing their videos and it's like brothers is putting up crazy shit. Like I seen one guy, he said, shout out to those niggas in Memphis. It's like, shout out, like, this is the title of your video. It's like, what does this have to do? When did Yahawashi say, go out and make videos called shout out to these niggas? And it's like, bro, who? And then I seen another video with a guy that's supposed to be the leader of Israel. They say, he made a video talking about doing squats. It's like, look at the ministry. We making videos about doing squats and how squats can help you. Bro, Yahawashi wasn't teaching people about, hey man, make sure you do your squats in the morning time because that can help you. This gospel is supposed to be, and this is why Yahawashi is important. This is gospel is supposed to be about Yahawashi and Yahawashi returning and being king and setting us free from our enemies and setting up a kingdom, which is his kingdom. That's what your ministry is supposed to be about. Your ministry is not supposed to be about doing squats or going on a jog. You need to go on a jog 3 times a day. I seen a brother I made a video rebuking brothers that didn't jog enough. And the brother was in the video talking about, look, you need to start walking more. Stop using your car so much and start walking more. That's what his whole video was about. Because when all hell break loose, you're gonna need to use your legs. Like, what? Yahawashi Matthew 6 said, don't even worry about what you eat or you drink. But we got to listen to this guy talking about we need to start working out our legs so we can survive when all hell break loose. You see what I'm saying? So you got to consider Yahawashi and what you're doing, man. And see if you're walking in the ways he walked. This is 1 John chapter 2. Verse 1, my little children, these things write I unto you, that ye sin not. And if any man sin, we have an advocate with the Father, Yahawashi the righteous. It says, and he is the propitiation for our sins, and not for ours only, but also the sins of the whole world. It says, and hereby we know that we know him if we keep his commandments. Right, but watch this. And he say, I know him and keep not his commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him. But whoso keepeth his word, in him verily is the love of God perfected. Hereby know we that we are in him. He that say he abide in him ought himself also to walk even as he walked. You got to walk in the ways he walked. Does that mean that, you know, if Yahawashi kind of swayed it to the left, swayed it to the right a little bit when he walked, you got to walk that same? No, it's not talking about literal, bro. It's talking about walking the ways, meaning you have to live by the ways, which is what? The law, statutes, and commandments that he lived by. He showed you the perfect example. This is why we talk about different things. If Yahawashi was wearing a garment to the foot with fringes on it, guess what we going to do? We going to wear garments to the foot with fringes on it. We not going to wear t-shirt fringes. I know brothers that I watch that I learned from that I'm cool with, they do wear t-shirt fringes. But when the argument is settled, if you say you believe in Yahawashi and you walking in the way he walk in, why not wear a garment with fringes on it the way he did? He's the perfect example. That's always the ending. You could go to the Bible and say, well, they was doing this time, or they was doing this time. What was Yahawashi doing? And can you show me an example of Yahawashi doing what you're doing? If you can't show me an example in the Bible with Yahawashi doing what you're doing, then it's out of there. It's over with. We're going to do it this way because Yahawashi did it. That's why I see when we went down, we had garments on with fringes on. IUIC had shirts with fringes on. And they treated us a certain type of way based on us having garments with fringes on. Right? When we went down, right, and that happened, it just showed, you know, to at least to us, it ain't got to show to nobody else, but it showed to us like, okay, look, we don't believe that. I can't say the Lord's not dealing with them as a whole, but the movement, the house of David, we don't believe that this is the house of David that the Lord's going to set back up on earth. You know, this is another camp, this is another group or a cult. Cool. If it be some man of the elect in there, may the Lord's will be done. You know, but we don't believe that, okay, that this is the movement, like Moses movement. You had to follow Moses. You see what I'm saying? We don't believe that about IUIC because we see the way that they treated us. So basically, if an angel was to come down unawares, because that's the doctrine we believe, and they came down and they had a garment with they fringes on, and they simply, because we didn't even get to say anything, and before they start judging us, and then when I did start saying something, I told them that, hey, look, we not with them, who you think we are. You know what I mean? We're not on none of that what y'all think we are. We're just coming in support, and they still treated us a certain type of way. So that tells me if an angel would have came down unawares with a garment on with fringes on, y'all would have treated him the same type of way. But guess what? Yahawashi wear the garment down to the foot with fringes. So it's like, what are we doing here? You see what I'm saying? So that just that convinced us and our heart, okay, cool. That's a good thing. You know what I mean? At least for us, that's what we think. that those things was revealed to us. So we know to stay out their way. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. You got to consider Yahawashi. And this is why Yahawashi is so important. If Yahawashi had a Hebrew name, right? And if his mother named him a Hebrew name, called him by a Hebrew name, if his father called him by a Hebrew name, named him a Hebrew name, if the apostles around him, no, the disciples around him actually, right? Did they call Yahawashi Jesus? The answer would be no. They did not call him by the name Jesus. Okay, so did they call him by a Hebrew name? We believe yes. Some might say, well, they called him Joshua. Some might say Yoshua, or however they might pronounce it. Now you could say that, okay, maybe y'all pronouncing it the wrong way. But we know for a fact that his disciples called him by a Hebrew name. We say that Hebrew name is Yahawashi. Right? The Paleo-Hebrew. Paleo-Hebrew does exist, even though they say it's not a language, hey, but it does exist. So we believe that they called him by the Paleo-Hebrew, which is Yahawashi in that Paleo-Hebrew. So not only did they call him by that name, they knew him by that name, and they taught other people by that name. The people they would have been teaching, they would have said Jesus, even though I know the Bible says that because this is a translation. But during their time, this is simple things. They would have been going around teaching people in the name of Yahawashi in his Hebrew name that his mother gave him. That's the name that they would have been using, and that name would not be Jesus. That's a fact. That's a fact over feelings. Now, we could be emotional like women and get in our feelings, but hey, a fact is a fact. You can't change that. And if I was to ask them a simple question, true or false, did his mother call him by a Hebrew name? Did his father call him by a Hebrew name? And did his disciples call him by a Hebrew name? And did they teach his Hebrew name? Yes or no? You would have to say, yes, that's true. And then the next question would be, so why don't you? Aren't we supposed to walk in the ways that he walked? Did he teach his disciples his ways? Simple. So this is why Yahawashi is so important. Now, Moses was sent to us during that time, and the Lord sent to somebody during, which was Yahawashi, during those times. And the Lord going to send us somebody during this time, because the Lord is going to raise up the house of David. That person, we believe by doctrine that person is going to be King David, and the house of David is going to be raised on earth, right? But that person is not going to be named King David. That person may have a different name. They may have an American name today, right? But in the spirit, we would say, okay, that's King David. But we got to understand that person is going to have a name today, today's name that the Lord is going to raise up to lead us. Or maybe the Lord may actually, may send Yahawashi. When I say the Lord, I'm talking about the Father, may actually send Yahawashi now. So we have to see the time, because no man knows the time or the date. But this is why Yahawashi is so important. Yahawashi is so important because Yahawashi reminds you that nobody knows the time of the day. You get a lot of guys that start trying to predict dates and times. But if you just remember Yahawashi, then you remember, okay, I can't do that because he didn't do that. You see how important he is of keeping you on that straight path? If you start doing things for money, well, you say, well, look, Yahawashi didn't do things for money. So then you know you off. So you got like a guide, which is Yahawashi life, to kind of show you if you going off or not. You have that guide. Did Yahawashi keep the Passover? Right? Then you have to say, yes, he did. So should you keep the Passover? You see how the answer always matches up? Yes. Did Yahawashi keep the Passover in the land? Yes. So should you be keeping the Passover in the land? You see, that's hard. That's tough. But the answer always adds up. So us keeping the Passover in America, you more observing the Passover. You're not keeping the Passover. You're observing the Passover. To truly keep the Passover, you have to keep it in Israel. And the bondage, being under the bondage and the curses thing is not a fucking excuse. Because Yahawashi and them, they were clearly under bondage, so they was clearly under the curses, and they still was over there in the land to take it. Right now, I promise you, right now, look, listen to me. Because people use this being under the curse shit as a excuse. I could fly back to Israel during the time of Passover. I could fly over to Israel. Now, whether they rules or they laws, I haven't looked into that part. But I know for a fact that I could fly over there. I got enough money to purchase a ticket and fly over there. And most people in America have the money. At some point of time throughout a whole year, you could save up $2,000 for a flight ticket to go to Israel. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And guess what? You can keep the Passover there. And there's Israelite communities over there that do keep the Passover. Well, I don't know if they eat the lamb because I think they were vegan, so I have to look into that part more. But there's Israelite communities over there that you may actually be able to get in touch with and go over there and keep the Passover. We could come together and camps come together and donate money. I've just seen some camps reveal that they were making $90,000 a year off camp donations. That's enough money to go over there and possibly purchase some land. If they'll let you buy land, I don't know. That part I will have to look into. I know there is an Israelite community over there that is on a portion of land. And guess what? You can keep the Passover. But it's something that we could do that people aren't trying to do under the disguise of, well, we can't do it because we're under the curses. But you can. What does I can't do mean? Does I can't do it? Does that mean that it's too hard to do? But it's possible, but I just don't want to go out my way to do it? Or does I can't do it mean you literally can't do it? So that's where we got to see the difference, because people use that as an excuse for a lot of different things. Well, we can't do this. We can't do that. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. It may just be too hard for you. So it's easier for you to do it over here. Right. But so you just ask yourself, right, if you're judging someone too harshly, you say, well, did Yahawashi judge people too harshly? Whatever your answer is, that's going to be the answer for what you're doing. You see what I'm saying? That's how it matches up. And that's why Yahawashi is so important. Was Yahawashi focused on making videos on YouTube about doing squats? Nope. So should we be focused on YouTube making videos about doing squats? Nope. Was Yahawashi focused on exposing who's agents and who's bug outs? Nope. So should we be focused on exposing who's agents and bug outs? Nope. You see how the answer goes? Was Yahawashi a YouTube content creator? Nope. So should we even be YouTube content creators? I don't want to hear that, well, today's time, when you get to talking about today's time, then anybody can use that to change anything. Well, today's time, we got the internet. So we're using the internet to spread this. We don't need to go around and spread anything because we're going to use the internet. No, do it the exact way that it says in the Bible. The same exact way Yahawashi was doing it. Don't make up your own because in today's time, now we got to be YouTube content creators. Yeah, it may be some good with spreading the truth of YouTube, but look at all the problems that YouTube has caused. All the strife between the different camps and different brothers, all based on YouTube. Because you got easy access to jump on YouTube, drunk, halfway drunk, talk shit about somebody, and now you done burned a relationship. Whether it be different in person, because how could this person even hear you saying anything about them unless they were in the same state or around you or had somebody, mutual friends with you. You see what I'm saying? So the internet does some good with spreading the truth, but it's done a lot of bad. It's done a lot of bad with seeing brothers just misuse the internet for music videos, for content creation. Like I said, putting up videos about doing squats, putting up videos about doing jogging, which I got a video back in the day when I was following those people of talking about working out. Because you got to get ready for what? All hell to break loose. And you got to be strong enough when all hell break loose. And then go in the Bible and use scriptures to try to push that. But you see what I'm saying? What keeps you on the straight path is Yahawashi. This is why Yahawashi is so important. I was kind of thinking about that last night. Like, man, this is why Yahawashi is so important. Because that example. Now, you say Yahweh's the Father. Yahweh sits on the throne, though. So Yahweh sent us a perfect example of what to be like, and that's Yahawashi. Now, you could say during the time of Moses, I was Moses. Right? But and there's been many more. During different times, many different prophets that played that example. Jonah was an example. Isaiah was an example. Daniel was an example. So throughout these different times, the Lord has sent us examples of what to be and how to be. Not only just, well, I'm just going to tell y'all what y'all should do and what y'all not should do. No, I'm going to send y'all a living example, a human with flesh and blood like y'all got that could show y'all the example of what to be. Right there in front of you, you got to follow it. You got to see it and follow it. So that's why Yahawashi is so important with that. I would say salvation to the elect. Shalom.